Couch in space!
Oh, look, it's a couch.
Looks comfortable.
And it's in space.
Cool.
Couch in space!
Hi everyone, welcome back to another Couch in Space. I'm here with my good friend Mark CATHIE, and I want to touch on this. Mark's in remission. You've
Yes.
had a long battle with cancer,
I have.
and gosh, it was so long. And I've seen you in really bad states, but you've just got the
I've had the all clear now for
All clear.
10 weeks.
wow.
So we've had...
How for people who don't know, how did that start for you? Like when were you told that you've got something life-threatening going on?
I had a blood test it'll be 6 years ago now, on the day before that I took my mum to Italy.
Right.
And I decided not to take my phone because I just wanted to just totally focus on my mum. It was a big trip for her.
Yeah.
And when I came back, there were messages on my phone to call the doctor. And so I thought, so whatever.
Yep.
And then I got news that there were some irregularities. And so I went and saw my GP, and the GP suggested I go and see specialists. And I was then diagnosed with prostate cancer with some other possibilities.
Okay.
And so they wanted to perform surgery and all the other options that come from that, right?
Yes.
Radiation. And I kind of just froze. It was quite surreal, and I just felt that at the time that I didn't know what to do, but I didn't want to do something immediately. I didn't want to rush into something because I didn't have all of the information, including options for remedial work, options to turn it around. And all the standard options we know are there, but I just kind of had this gut feeling that if cancer could ever be determined as being natural, if something can grow in your body naturally, then you should be able to remove it naturally, sort of. And I just decided to do some research and found that John Hopkins, I think at university, were performing some treatments over in Perth on radiotherapy.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I thought, well, that's an option. I then began reading about some weird and wonderful alternatives that seemed a little bit too far-fetched for me. Although you research virtually every avenue. All the while, I was also trying to find a surgeon that I could trust.
Okay.
And so I did the naive thing, I guess, of ringing up surgeons and hitting their receptionists and asking them if their surgeon was the best in Auckland. And of course every receptionist would say,
If you don't ask, well, you don't know.
Exactly. And I got to speak to 4 surgeons who...
They actually called you back?
Well, actually, yeah. They not only did they call me back, but they were virtually chasing me and based upon the results saying, well, look, you're playing Russian roulette with your life.
Okay.
You're considerably enough advanced that if you don't do anything about it, you're going to die.
Right.
And I thought, well, okay, that's a bit gruesome.
Yeah.
And I still doggedly wanted to just see if there are any other options, and I found a 5th surgeon who was willing to work with me, just give me enough rope just to allow me to start to look at these other options.
Yeah.
But if the rope got tight, it's going to yank me back. And
Now, his circle of options was what? Radiotherapy?
radiotherapy, surgery, chemo.
Okay.
And that's it. In fact, if you look up the options around therapy in California and other states, those are the only therapies that you can legally use.
Jeez.
You are breaking the law if you use any other therapies. So we won't go into all the reasons why that at the moment, because that's deep.
Yeah.
But
so breaking the law to try and save your own life.
I know.
Humanity's got a lot to answer for.
Their perception is that you're not. You're actually,
Yeah.
again, playing Russian roulette with your life. So these are the only options available.
Yeah.
But as I also got to learn was that, and it even hit the New Zealand Herald about a year ago, front page. 50% of those who use chemotherapy have to have chemotherapy as part of their treatment, die of the chemotherapy, not of the cancer itself. And my whole view is that to make this work, I had to bolster my immune system,
Right.
as opposed to deplete it. And so I radicalized what I thought, in my view at the time, my eating habits, and that I stopped all alcohol, stopped meat,
Yeah.
stopped sugars, and changed to a predominantly vegetarian diet. Well, it was vegetarian, not vegan,
Okay.
but just a vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
But with fish, so pescatarian.
Okay.
And so I would have fish a couple of times a week. And so that was my first step. And then after auditioning surgeons and finding a particular surgeon that would work with me, I then went about looking at other options, and I'd seen the radiotherapy treatment in Perth, and thought that might be an option. So then looked more there, as it had some form of legitimacy about it.
Okay. How did it differ from what you would get here?
You can't get it. Well,
Okay.
you can't get that specific treatment here.
Okay.
But what I did do is then look at, let's just move slightly to the left on that one and say, well, okay, there's if frequency is able to treat particular ailments,
Yes.
what options are out there? And I then discovered a variety of machines that were out there. One was something called a multi-wave oscillator. And effectively what it does is it just bombards your body with a very wide frequency range, so that each of the cells can effectively then vibrate at their natural healing frequency. That's the
Right.
theory behind
That's
it.
the
Whether
theory,
that's
yeah.
exactly how it happens, I don't know. But there was that. I used a multi-pulsar machine, which effectively just thumps an EMF
Yep.
into the parts of the body that need treatment. And the third one, which I think is absolutely amazing, was something called a Rife machine.
Okay.
And
what is that?
RIFE.
Rife.
And that was a frequency treatment that was originally discovered by a gentleman called Royal Rife. And he had found that pathogens could be destroyed with the application of specific frequencies that would be
Right.
aligned to that pathogen. And so he extensively experimented on a range of different medical
Yep.
issues, and found that with specific frequency sets, these medical issues could be reversed.
Wow. Okay.
And so I wasn't convinced that it would work or not, just felt that it was worth a try.
Yeah.
And so
And is that a fairly safe?
everything's non-invasive.
Okay.
There's nothing in any of these machines that can hurt you. Nothing.
Okay.
It's just frequency.
Putting frequencies through your bodies that hopefully affect the right cells.
Yes.
Dislodge them, or what does it actually
Effectively
do?
kills them.
How does it kill them?
That is not an area that,
You're not-
I'm totally familiar with.
If you've got a whole bunch of cells that are clustered together,
I suppose
how does it?
The theory behind
differentiate?
it is that you've got frequencies that will help cells and frequencies that will destroy cells.
Right.
And I suppose it's like anything. Like you have anything that is solid,
Yes.
and you bombard it with a specific frequency that's resonant to it, then it will kill it.
Right.
And
yes,
so
that makes sense.
That kind of theory is sort of how this works, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and pretend that I know. There's a lot of stuff out there that would give
No,
you better
but
information
it's
than me.
fascinating though, isn't
I
it?
know,
That
it is.
a little bit of a frequency. Was it waves of energy, or is it waves of sound, or is it both?
It can be both.
Okay.
Yep.
So.
Because
yeah,
we're all
that's
frequency
amazing.
anyway.
We're all frequency. Our whole existence is a certain frequency.
Yeah, it is. So because we essentially are just a whole variety of different frequencies that make us up,
Yeah.
then why could we not use that to heal us?
Yeah.
And I purchased a Rife machine. You can purchase them in New Zealand.
Right.
The multi-pulsar I purchased here as well. And the multi-wave oscillator, believe it or not, is something my dad had in his garage. Didn't quite know what it did, and it just left it for years.
Wow.
And so I rediscovered it.
Oh my goodness.
And it was absolutely amazing.
So explain to me the Rive machine. Is it like patches you put on? Is it?
Okay.
Does it?
There's a variety of different things that it can offer.
Okay.
I just used one single unit, which was a copper ring about that big.
Okay.
And you just place it in on your body in the area that was affected.
So it doesn't put a bubble. It's like a beam that
it's pretty much
specific
just
to area.
as any ring would do. If it's an
Yeah.
EMF, it would just in donut shape. It would just transmit specific frequencies.
Okay.
Now, what I had was a laptop. I would dial in the illness.
Yes.
And then it would populate automatically the
amazing.
frequencies.
Really?
Yeah, it's so simple as that.
Someone's already done the research on what frequencies are.
That's what Roy Rife did. He had a whole batch
Wow.
of frequencies. You can go in there and you can see all of the frequencies. They're readily available on the internet. And look, I embrace these things with a certain amount of trepidation,
Yeah.
because you look at it and you think, well, look, life's not that simple. But I tried it.
Yeah.
And so I tried the Rife machine, tried the multi-wave oscillator, and tried the multipulsar. I also gave them out to friends when they had illnesses, and I think one of the most amazing stories that has come back is that there was a really dear friend of mine he was in his early 70s, and he was diagnosed with renal disease, a specific renal disease, and he was in the end sent home to die. He was given 3 days. And so his wife Linda had decided from there that, right, he's all hers. She had a background in naturopathy, and it was, Mark, can I have your multi-wave oscillator?
Great.
And so I gave them the multi-wave, and he bombarded himself 30 minutes twice a day.
Wow. Okay.
And he lived for another 2.5 years.
Jeez. Wow.
To the point where he was actually even driving, and quality of life wasn't 100%.
Yeah.
But it was up there, and he had.
Either way, it made a difference. I mean, it didn't cure him. But
Didn't cure him, but it made a huge difference. And it's not like there are no guarantees with any of these things. And what I'm talking about is a journey that was specific to me. I can't suggest that it would work with anybody else, and I never want to.
This is what I have a problem with, and this is totally unfounded, and I have no medical background whatsoever.
Like me.
The general practitioners, it's the body, the human body is so individualized, it is. How can just the word general is wrong in the first instance, isn't it? It's like a headache for me could mean something totally different to a headache to you.
Yep.
Yet the prescription is the same for you and me, It can either better it or worsen it.
And
I don't know,
interesting
it's
you
just
say
my
prescription.
naivety of medical practitioning, but I do try and wonder about that. It's not right. It doesn't feel right anyway, going in there just getting a general diagnosis when I think what doctors are getting better and better now. I mean, the first thing they ask is about your diet, and they have, a bit more trying to personalise what's your lifestyle, how does it differ to everyone else's. But still, it's so vague a lot of the time. It's almost like guesswork.
It kind of is.
And you can't do that in a 15-minute consultation.
That's what I was going to say. Like in 15 minutes, they're supposed to then determine your whole life history almost. I know that you would see your doctor ongoingly, and that you would have more than one treatment.
It's not even fair on them. I'm not even blaming them.
It's not
unrealistic.
You always need a first line of defence, I guess, and that the GP role is an important role. But one thing that I found because my GP, I have to say, was fantastic through all of
okay, wonderful.
Knew that I was trying treatments that were unique, and and at the end of it, when I walked in there, because I was due to see my specialist a couple of days after I went in to see my GP just for some asthma medication, and I walked in there and he said, Mark, I just want to say firstly, before anything else, congratulations, you're in remission. I've just had the documentation come back from the specialist, and it was just such wonderful news. But the next thing that he said floored me. He said, right, I want to hear about it now. He said, I've seen the scans and the biopsies, and I've seen the tumours, and I now see them gone. And so tell me about it. What have you done? Now's probably the right time for me to start asking some questions. And my
Brilliant.
first comment was, well, big ups to you for actually even asking.
Well, his
because
whole
nobody
life
else did.
perspective has now changed. He's
Yeah.
seen something that he just can't explain
Yeah.
and hasn't been taught.
No.
How amazing is that?
Well, I look at Western medicine, which has a huge place in our society, and as it should. But there are other options out there that have been out there for thousands of years, and they're only just beginning to get a look. And I look at acupuncture; that's only actually been on the ACC list of accepted treatments for 20 years, maybe less. There are different ways that you can approach something, and they can work in tandem.
That's right. Yeah, it's not one or the other. You don't have to discard it. But
No.
I think a lot of it is you are your best doctor. Hey, I mean, you're the closest to your body. You know what it does, what feels right, and what doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, your body will tell you if something is not quite right, or whether you need to
Pretty much.
expand in certain ways.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got it, did you, getting that news saying, your body's killing you basically, or you've got something in there that's potentially, well, that was life-threatening, did you feel anger towards that? Like, why me? Why is my body doing this to me? What was your initial reaction? I mean, I know shock was one of it.
I think it was definitely shock, and then I think about a day later I had a 20-minute pity party.
Okay.
And then at the end of it,
Only 20 minutes.
Yeah, look, honestly,
Wow.
I know. And I then determined, well, this is war, and this
Is it?
Yeah,
It's
this
war.
is this is war.
You were warring against your own body.
Yeah, in a nice way.
Yep.
I was going to kill it with understanding and not hatred or anger, but I was going to kill it with understanding and love. I even named my cancer. I named my cancer George.
Right, okay.
So that it would have an entity.
Yeah.
I then, worked on that entity in
Wow,
a way
that's
that I
powerful,
wanted to
'cause-
I just wanted to be educated in options, and I just wanted it to go. I wanted, he was an interloper that was just not welcome,
Okay.
and I wanted to remove him in a way that was positive and didn't have me sort of move into a negative space. I'm not perfect. There were days I just felt frustrated and a little down, but I didn't want to give up.
Yeah.
And so I religiously embraced the healing systems that I'd acquired, and I just religiously then just worked through them. And
Did you ever find out why George turned up? Is there something
I
you
have
can
a
share?
view.
Yeah, okay.
I have a view.
Can you give us a broad understanding?
Yeah. In fact, if you want to read a good overview of it, Ian Wishart's book Totalitaria has a chapter or two on it in terms of how our food is killing us and how the environment's killing us.
Yep.
And you look at a range of things that we're subjected to that we weren't once, that has us now have cancer in our society at a far higher level than we ever did. And there are those that argue that it has probably not changed too much from what it was way back then, but it's just now more easily detected. There is some degree of that, but not a lot.
Right, okay.
You look at, for example, prostate cancer. Prostate cancer, there was no real research into it because you would only get it if you were in your 70s.
Right, okay.
Now people are getting prostate cancer in their 30s.
Jeez.
And so the question should be asked why, as opposed to just trying to find research to fix it. The bigger question should be, well, why have we shifted? Why are our cancers now becoming more prevalent? Breast cancer it's always been around, but it's now much more prevalent than it was.
Yeah, and on younger people as well.
Much younger people. But you're finding chemicals that are being used in our food now is actually finding its way up the food chain from various companies that once declared that it never would. The research on a lot of those chemicals are now they're now finding that those chemicals are perhaps more destructive than the initial research when those chemicals were made was purported to deliver. And so those who want to look at their food intelligently are now finding that I suppose you could argue that the food's almost killing us.
And I think if you look at it in a global sense, all the food is killing us, really. And it's not just the hamburgers or the greasy stuff or the sugary stuff, even the chemicals that are sprayed on the broccoli. And, we are feeding a big lot of population here. And, farmers use chemicals to control, the way that food looks in the supermarket. There's no spots on it, the colours are vibrant. You got to wonder sometimes, and most of the time you eat it and it tastes okay. It doesn't really taste like an apple, but it's kind of a bit off. But, apple's still better for you than, like, I don't know, a chocolate bar. But at the end of the day, I'm wondering if it isn't, So all these foods seems to be depleting our immune system. So our immune system is really strong and healthy, well, in kids, because they have to, get used to all the germs and things like that. And then come young adulthood, even people are starting to find that whatever they've eaten or they've been exposed to for the first 15, 17 years of their life, suddenly they're developing a cancer. Now, their immune system should be at its peak to combat anything else. You would think.
You would think. And so the question is, what is it that's actually depleting the immune system?
Yeah.
That's the question that we should be following. There was an article in the New Zealand Herald not more than 2 weeks ago, which was very telling. Right. And for the life of me, I can't recall which country, whether it was either America or the UK. But and the numbers might not be quite correct, but I think it was around 42 breakfast cereals were measured for any toxins.
Right, okay.
And they found, of those 42, it was something like about 32, 34 of them showed traces of Roundup.
Oh, really?
And that's documented. Breakfast cereals. And this is coming from a company that when they first developed Roundup, there was the promise that it would never appear in our food chain.
Yeah.
And now it is. There are studies with Roundup that you would argue indicate that it has no effect. But equally, there are other studies that indicate it has huge effect. Right. And so at the end of the day, you have to look at it and make your own determination. But my suggestion is always follow the money.
Right.
Now, if you follow the money and you find that research is actually committed by or created by, fat crap could be a good word, research that has been followed through from the company that actually made the product, then they have a commitment to making the product successful, especially if they've researched the product and spent a lot of money in that research. If it's an independent company or series of independent companies that have come up with alternative views, then I think you would add, considerable weight to, to their kind of findings. And I always advocate follow the money. That is probably going to deliver to you more truth than anything else.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but I think there's some truth in it. I mean, I don't like to think of the conspiracy theories as. Well, you're labelled enough if you. Yeah, I know. It's always it's easy to greed is definitely part of the factor because we're living in a business economy and everything has to make money and for the shareholders, and so it kind of makes the world go around. But I do believe that at the beginning of the stage they do want to find a cure for something, but then there's all these other elements involved as well, like, okay, you've only got this much time, you can't research it properly because we have to get it to market and so forth. So I think the intent is always, most of the time, it's actually very good, but then you've got the factors involved of, I think
one thing we all have to remember is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that then they determine whether a food is safe. Yeah. And their approval of anything doesn't suggest that it's good for you. It just suggests that it's not going to kill you.
Right. That's a great thumbs up.
That's all they
should make those stickers. This food will not kill you.
That's
that we know.
That we know. And the research that we have placed in front of us that has been funded by the people that probably made the product in the first place.
Right.
So, that's the caution that comes with that.
So do you think your cancer came from food?
Yeah, it was terrible. My diet was awful.
Right.
Oh, I just putting aside all of our thoughts on chemicals and food, one of the biggest feeders for cancer is sugar.
Yeah, right.
Cancer loves sugar, and I love lollies, love biscuits.
Same, yeah, I could live on it.
Yeah, I had lollies stashed in my glove box, and I could eat those on the way home, and I was a huge kind of sugar monster, and
Right.
it just changed my life when I realised that was the best and biggest thing that I could actually cut out.
Okay. And
So-
you felt a lot better for it, cutting the sugar out?
Very much.
Right.
Yeah, very, very much. A lot more energy.
Yeah, right.
And there's nothing wrong with the natural sugars in fruit, and so you consume those. For me, I just consume those as you would normally.
Right.
But I certainly cut out on all processed sugars, and I realised that my sugar intake was probably 5 to 10 times above
Right,
normal
okay.
because of what I was probably more.
And you think that definitely contributed to...
I believe it has.
cancer, okay.
It's kind of a multi-pronged approach where
Okay.
I looked at frequency treatment, change of diet, exercise, so greater exercise, alcohol, everything that you would place in your body or expose your body to that would lower your immune system, because it's all about raising your immune system so that it can do its own job.
Yes, that's right.
And so do that, plus with a frequency treatment that would then kill the cancer cells. Then
So when you change your diet, and you've got this thing inside of you,
yeah,
and it's grown, of course, to a proportion. So when you change your diet, that basically stops the growth, doesn't it? It doesn't.
directly.
So for people out there who wanting to do something about their illness,
Yeah.
changing your diet is not going to cure you.
I would not advocate
To
anything
reverse that
suggest.
effect, you have to do something on top of that than just changing your diet.
I believe so.
Yeah.
That's what I needed to do for me.
Yeah.
In fact, there's also another product that I took. It's called graviola, which
Right.
it's an extract from a plant in the Amazon. It's also in soursop. Soursop also grows in Fiji and some of the islands and in Queensland. And so the extract from that and the ground root are known as a natural chemotherapy.
Wow, okay.
And
Really?
there are some that advocate it does nothing. If you
Yes.
go to the internet, you're going to have people on both ends of the scale. There are some that are going to suggest that it absolutely does nothing and that it's all in your head. And there are others that will suggest that with the research that they found that it has been fantastic. For me, all I can say is the first thing I did with any of my treatments was to take soursop,
Okay.
graviola as it's called.
Yep.
And so I took it in capsule form,
Okay.
and that stopped the tumours before I did anything else.
Okay.
It didn't shrink them, it just stopped them growing.
Okay.
And so
How did you find out about that? Just research.
multiple scans. Oh, how did I find out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just became sort of wedded to the Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Google, hey?
Dr. Google. And so I found with that. Oh, and friends were giving me information too. Yeah, and some of it was helpful and some of it wasn't. But I think that's another side to the support and love that I got from my friends who discovered my illness was just amazing. And that was the help that got me through.
Yeah.
And
But at the end of the day, you had to do what made sense to you. Hey.
yeah, it had to be research-based, fact-based, as best as it could be. As you look through, 99% of the information on there is just less than optimal. And I think what took me down the frequency path was just the radiotherapy treatment that was in Perth, and I thought, well, okay, then if they're looking into it, then there must be some.
And did your dad's research have anything to do with that too?
Oh, it did. Yes, it did.
That's a whole nother topic.
That's
which we
a
actually
whole
don't
other topic.
We actually haven't touched
I'm sorry, we're
on.
out of time.
Well, we're kind of. I try to keep it around the 40-minute mark, and we've already gone for that. So I don't even want to touch, Bruce Cathie's work, and I want you to come back and talk about that.
Sure.
I think because I think that's fascinating. But you becoming into remission and that journey there. I mean, it's been many years, and there must have been times when you just thought, I'm just tired.
Oh, there were.
I can't.
I was almost going to give
How
up.
did you get over that? If people are out there that are listening to this and maybe going through something similar, that they have an illness that just can't get their head around and want to just give up, what would you say to them?
I think I've kind of realised that a lot of people end up advocating all responsibility to their specialist anyway. And so I would never say that it's giving up. I would just say that it's just a total trust. I know nothing, and these people know everything, and so this is what I should do. And look, I wouldn't want to criticise that because, you know, that's their journey. I would strongly suggest, though, that people do look beyond that. You know, those who are suffering from this, ask their own questions, do their own research, and it may still not be for them. They may still want to go down the standard trodden path.
Yeah.
And if they do, then I totally respect them. But equally, I suppose just from my own experiences, there are other options, and I've found, at least for me, they do work.
Yeah. Have you ever documented your journey?
No.
Are you going to? Do you think that would help other people who are going something similar?
Yeah, maybe I should. But
I think it would be a great idea, Mark.
I look at the trolls that are out there and I think, do I really want to be trolled?
We can always say no comments.
So just close it off.
The trolls are going to troll anyone, anywhere, But the thing is, you don't have to worry about the trolls because you've got a proven experience that has helped you.
Yeah.
You're not saying this works for everyone. Sharing your journey is really the only nugget that people would need.
The one thing that I found is that I've come across others who also have discovered that they have cancer. And in all of this time, I have not had one person come to me and say, what did you do? Can I do it too?
Yeah, really.
Amazingly. And the trust in the existing system is such that they have not wanted to look beyond that. And I've never wanted to force my own views on anybody. It's a case of if I hear that somebody has something, and I'll quietly say, not necessarily directly to them, because I know I got bombarded by a whole lot of helpful people.
Yeah.
So I've never wanted to be that kind of person. But I've quietly said through an intermediary that if they want help, I'm here.
Yeah.
If they want to use any of my machines, totally there for them.
If someone's listening to this now and would love to understand, to talk to you,
totally open.
What's the best way to? I mean, I'll put a little link up maybe to
put
something.
a link up, and they can have a chat to you, and you can forward the details to me, and I can chase them, and go from there. Because
I think the thing is, you're a survivor, so you have a really epic story to tell, and like you said, a lot of people put their faith in other people.
Yeah.
You know, so-called experts without really self-diagnosing.
no,
And this is where you've just come out on top. You said, okay, I've got self-diagnosing, I've got all this information from Dr. Google, plus I've got my specialists, plus I've got my friends. And taking all those things, and everyone helped in their own little way, but you didn't put your faith in totally one specific thing. Hey?
I wanted to be part of the solution.
Yes.
And I think that's the difference. And I find that there are those that don't. They just want to be carried along the journey because it's too big for them. It is, it's a scary
overwhelming,
thing.
of course,
totally overwhelming, and I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
And I almost made that decision myself, at the very beginning, and until I then thought, well, no, if it is natural,
Yes.
as natural could be, then it can be removed naturally, and it was that then had me look further.
That makes sense. That's actually common sense.
Yeah.
That makes more sense to me than saying to a surgeon, all right, just cut it out and throw it away. Because in one way it's too simple. This thing grew over a long period of time to just suddenly go, chup, that energy is still there. It'll just remanifest in other areas.
And it does. One specialist said to me something that was quite sobering when I was talking with them, and he was advocating various treatments. And I said, so that will cure me? And he said, well, to be honest, it will give you 10 years.
Right.
And then you will more than likely look at that again.
Jeez.
His view was that cancer was something that if you were susceptible to it, then it was something that would sit in the background and maybe rear its head when the immune system sort of allowed it to again. Right. And those that I've known who have had it and fought it, then the 10-year mark is something that not all the time, but often ends up rearing its head again and showing them the cancer, and there are options.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Mark.
No, my pleasure.
You have to come back, definitely. I want to talk about more frequencies and so forth. It's, wow. But anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
that
I
you've
do
managed
too.
to pull
I
through.
really do. And
You're
to be honest-
superhuman. You've done it. I mean, please write it down and have it as a resource. Even if you write a short story or,
Yeah.
I don't know, something on the net that people can say.
It would.
Mark,
I think it's probably a good
it would be
thing.
inspirational. I think it would be
Yeah,
help.
yeah. And then people can choose whether it's a journey for
Exactly.
them or not.
But the evidence is self-conclusive. You know,
Yeah.
you've made a positive difference.
And there are good people out there that actually there are companies. There's a wonderful company in Avondale that if you search them up with the machines that I have, you'll be able to find who they are. And they have amazing stories, successes that they have had with the machines that they've got, and it's worth just looking a little bit further.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Couch in space!